a doctor named Martin arrives in Berlin with his wife Liz to attend a biotechnology summit. They later reach their hotel and Martin asks his wife to get inside while he takes out their luggage. While Liz is checking in, Martin realizes that he has left his briefcase at the airport, and his wife later sees him ride a taxi to go back. Martin is caught in traffic, so the driver takes him to another route. However, they get into an accident and the cab drives off the bridge, falling into the river. Martin hits his head, making him unconscious. Luckily, the lady driver breaks her way through the window and helps her passenger get to safety. As the paramedics are trying to revive Martin, the driver sneaks away from the scene. Martin later wakes up in the hospital and the doctor tells him that he has been in a coma for 4 days. He asks for his wife, but then he tells him that no one has been looking for him and they could not find any identification from him. When his things were returned, Martin finds the watch given to him by his wife during their honeymoon in Paris, which has their engraved names on it. He also finds the book that was given to him by his father, which has numbers written on the last page. When the TV flashes the news about the upcoming summit, Martin remembers that he is supposed to attend that. He is worried for his wife because he has been gone for days, so he insists with his doctor that they release him. After making him sign the waiver and giving him his card, the doctor lets him go. At the hotel, Martin sees his wife and he follows her, but the security won't let him in without an ID. He starts to get furious, so the head security escorts him to her. However, Liz does not recognize him, and Martin is confused. Liz tells the security that he does not know the man, and she later calls for her husband, who claims that he is Dr. Martin Harris. Martin starts to get mad, and the security takes him away. They bring him to the security room where they let him watch the security footage on the day they arrived. Liz checked in that morning, but Martin couldn't find himself because he never went inside. He asks them to search for him on the internet, and they did find his information on a university, but the picture was of the other Martin. He gives up and apologizes, saying he must be imagining things because of the accident, so he leaves. Outside the hotel, he sees his wife enjoying her dinner with the imposter Martin. He later tries to check in at a cheap hotel, but they won't take him in without a passport. He tries to call his friend Dr. Rodney, but he is away, so he leaves him a message instead, telling him of his problem. While he is in the subway, Martin notices that a man is following him. The man starts to walk faster, so Martin runs quickly to the train, barely escaping him. He then tries to remember his appointments and writes them in the book. When he gets off, Martin notices a cab and remembers that it has the same logo as the one he had an accident in. He goes to their office, and he learns that his driver is an illegal immigrant, and she no longer works there. He later finds her working at a diner. Her name is Gina, and Martin tries to ask her questions, but she asks him to leave. He later goes to the university for his appointment with Professor Bressler, but then he finds the imposter Martin is already there. To convince the professor that he is the real one, Martin tells him about their conversation on the phone, but the imposter also knows this, and both of them talk in unison. When the imposter shows a picture of him and Liz, doing the exact pose they had during their honeymoon, Martin fainted. He later wakes up back in the hospital. The nurse gives him the number of an investigator who could help him find his family. The doctor comes in and says they need to do another MRI. They sedate Martin and put him into the machine. When he's done, Martin sees the man that was following him in the subway. Still sedated, Martin could not get away. The man injects something on his IV bag, and when the nurse catches him, he kills her. While the man is taking away the nurse's body, Martin manages to escape and later gets off an ambulance. He then goes to the investigator named Jürgen, recommended to him by the nurse. Martin tells him the whole story, and he asks his help to prove that he is the real Dr. Harris. He shows him the numbers on his book and says they were written by his wife. He also shows him the appointments he wrote from his memory. Martin believes that they have been planning it for some time because they have everything prepared, even the photo with his wife. The investigator asks what could they gain from replacing him, and Martin does not know. Jürgen assures him that he will help, and Martin pays him. The investigator tells him to ask the taxi driver again because she might know something. Martin confronts Gina and says he knows that she is an illegal immigrant, that's why she ran away after the accident. He gives his watch to her in exchange for her help and a place to stay. Martin tells her his story, and moments later, they arrive at her place. Meanwhile, the investigator calls his friend from the airport and asks for favor. He then searches the internet about the biotech summit and finds that the guest of honor is a prince named Shada. He later finds a video of an assassination attempt on the prince. Martin finds Gina's drawings amusing, and he learns that she is saving money to buy papers and get out of Berlin. Someone knocks on the door, and it is Gina's friend who lets her borrow his taxi. Moments later, there is another knock, and two men comes in, knocking out Gina. However, they couldn't find Martin as he has escaped to the roof. One of the men goes to the street to find him while the other one is left with Gina. He is about to inject her with a syringe when Martin appears and brawls with him. The man pins him down, but Gina stabs him with the syringe, which eventually kills him. They run away with the taxi, but the other man chases them. He tries to ram their taxi, until they roll over and the man crashes. The two runs inside a club and Gina is mad that she is now involved in this. Martin later checks the numbers again, and realizes that they indicate the pages and lines on the book, pointing to specific words. He then apologizes to Gina and says he will fix everything. The next day, Martin tells Jurgen about the numbers and says they point to the Latin names of two flowering plants. However, they could not figure out what they mean. The investigator asks about Professor Bressler and Prince Shada, and Martin says the professor wants to end world hunger through his research, while the prince is the one funding his work. Jurgen says that the extremists in the prince's country hate his progressiveness and there were already multiple attempts in his life. He concludes that someone might want to pose as Martin to assassinate the prince. Martin remembers that Liz will be attending an exhibit, so he goes to meet her. He finally gets to be alone with her, and that's when she tells him that she can't get out, and they will kill them both if she did. She tells him to find the briefcase he left at the airport, and she will meet him there. Before leaving, Liz kisses him and says that she loves him. When Jurgen arrives home, he finds the letter from his friend at the airport. It is the pictures which confirm that Martin really did arrive together with his wife Liz. The investigator later receives a call from Martin's friend Dr. Rodney, who says that he will come over and will help confirm Martin's identity. When he arrives, Jurgen talks about a secret assassination unit who never failed, and he knows that Rodney is one of them. Knowing that he could not run away, Jurgen drinks cyanide before Rodney can get information from him. At the airport, Martin retrieves his briefcase, and it has his passport, finally proving his identity. Martin waits for Liz, and Gina is worried that his wife might have told them where he is, but Martin says she wouldn't. Now that he has his life back, Gina returns his watch and says she'll leave now. Martin gives her some money and thanks her. Moments later, Rodney arrives, and Martin is relieved to see his friend. While waiting for a cab, Gina sees that Martin is being taken away in the van. She steals the taxi and chases them. At an abandoned parking lot, Rodney explains that Martin Harris does not really exist, and it was just his cover-up to get into the summit. Liz is not even his wife, but his professional partner. When he woke up from his coma, Martin believed that his cover story is true, and they had to use a backup Martin to continue the mission. Rodney tells him that he was a trained assassin, and he was his best one. The other guy knocks him down, and when he is about to shoot Martin, Gina hits him with the car, and she rams the van until it falls and explodes with Rodney inside. Martin sees his briefcase, and in the secret compartment, he finds different fake passports of him and Liz. When they check his other passport, they find out that Martin was in Berlin 3 months ago, and he starts to remember that he and Liz planted a bomb at the hotel. He tells Gina that Prince Shadow will be assassinated that night. At the conference, the prince arrives, and so does Professor Bressler with his 2 daughters. Liz greets them, and she sneaks a device on the professor's laptop. She then remotely connects to his hard drive, but it is password protected. It turns out that the Latin plant names in Martin's book are the password. She is now downloading some files from the professor's hard drive. Martin and Gina manage to get inside through the service door, but the security catches them. Martin tells them about the bomb he planted 3 months ago. Now that the download has been completed, Liz arms the bomb. She then sneakily takes out the device from the professor's laptop. Then she and the second Martin leave. Back at the security room, they found the footage from 3 months ago when Martin and Liz have checked in. Confirming his statement, the security orders evacuation of the hotel. Liz decides to go back and disarm the bomb because she does not want her face to be connected to an explosion they no longer need. When Martin sees Professor Bressler's daughters Lily and Laurel, he realizes that their names are the flowering plants in his book that the professor must have used as his password. His research could be worth billions, but the assassins would have to kill the professor. Martin realizes that the prince was never the target, it's Bressler. The second Martin is about to attack Professor Bressler, but then Martin arrives and brawls with him. Meanwhile, Liz fails to disarm the bomb and is obliterated by the explosion. When a debris hits Martin, he starts to remember everything, how he was the one who planned the assassination. When Gina arrives, she sees him kill the second Martin with a broken glass. She takes the shard from his hand and helps him get out of the hotel. The next day, Professor Bressler announces that his new strain of corn could solve world hunger, and Prince Shadow will be giving away the patent free to everyone. Meanwhile, using another fake passports, Martin and Gina leaves Berlin together as Henry and Claudia Taylor and starts their new life. Did you like our movie recap? Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. To be updated for new movie recaps, hit the notification bell.